Welcome to Conversations. I'm Barbara Kanellopoulos. Our program is all about getting to know the people all around us who live in our diverse community. We welcome you to tune in, to listen in, as our guests talk about their lives, their work, and the issues that are important to them. One of our guests is Bill English, who is here to talk about his work and life. Welcome to the program, Bill.
How do you do?
And I understand that before you retired, you worked in the field of technical documentation. Tell us something about that.
Well, this was almost entirely in computers, starting with the large mainframe computers of the 50s.
Oh, right. That was quite a while ago. We've forgotten how large they were.
Yes.
I wonder if we have a picture of that we can show viewers. It's hard to remember that our PCs were not always. There we go. So your work was then in describing those and documenting.
Yes, I did most of the work as a consultant rather than working for any individual company. And I did most of the work for Digital Equipment and Data General and a few other companies around the area. And it involved two things, essentially. I would write a book about what a particular piece of equipment, a computer, does. And I would do it right from the very source documentation. I would have a spec that the hardware engineers are supposed to follow that comes from marketing, for example. And as I'm writing the book, telling what the computer does and following the source documentation, I would sometimes find out that the computer didn't actually do what the spec called for. So I would get in touch with the engineers and tell them, marketing wants such and such, but that's not what the computer does. And then, of course, they would have to fix it. The other thing that I would run into would be that I would write about what the computer does, and of course, both the hardware engineers and the software engineers would review what I had written. To make sure that they could, that it was clear, right, that they could easily understand what it was all about. And sometimes what I would write about what the computer does wouldn't be what the software people wanted. So then that, of course, would mean there'd have to be a conference between the hardware engineers, right, and the software engineers as to whether it's good. The software engineers would have to put up with what the hardware does.
Seems
or the hardware
enormously
would change
complicated.
Well, as long as you stick to the source documentation, which I always did, I would get along pretty well. The trouble with a lot of technical writers is that they use information just scribbled, descriptions of things provided by various engineers, and often that doesn't really work. Right.
So people should understand then that technical writing is very different from writing essays. Certainly it's prose, but the language, the vocabulary is very specific, whereas in ordinary writing, and all writing is creative writing, but what we call creative writing, words slip around a lot. They have connotations.
Yes, many words in ordinary writing or creative writing have different meanings.
Right.
Whereas most of the technical words used in technical writing have a specific meaning and no other.
Right. I suspect that you are very much in demand because the computer industry just took off, and from one change to another. And so you certainly found plenty of work.
I did, except for a couple of times when there were a big argument between the technical writing department of the company not wanting to hire any outside writers, and that would cause some problems because the engineering department would want me to do the work, and the technical writing department wouldn't.
You understand that you eventually produced a book, a volume, a sort of manual. That was you when you were in California?
Well, in California, I was working for a small company and doing mostly user-oriented things. So the books there were quite small. My work for Digital Equipment Corporation here, they had a system they called the DEC System 20, and it had several processors and lots of associated hardware and so on. And that book got to be huge, so that I ended up probably writing about 1 million words in my lifetime about working there.
Now, it's interesting that you, in other chats that we have had, someone who has been so involved with technology, you are not necessarily in love with technology, and so you yourself. You don't do Facebook or Twitter or?
Well, I have a Facebook account, and I look at it about once a month to see what people have been putting on there. And I don't use Twitter or any of those other things.
Right.
I don't even have a cell phone.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. There are people who worry about technology, that they worry about what the future holds, that perhaps we have too much of it. Writers are writing books about that. What's your view of that? Is this something we should worry about?
Well, I think almost anything that involves everyone getting on the boat, so to speak, should be something that we worry about. Too many people are beginning to be so attached that they take all of their iPhones and iPads and everything with them, even when they go on a vacation, and they stay connected to the office 2 or 3 times a day, and this is not good. People should really get away.
That can be a danger. And what's interesting is that in your retirement, you have become very active with the old-fashioned physical book and with the Friends of the Falmouth Public Library. That has been very enjoyable for you, I guess.
Yes, I only got involved with them about 6 or 7 years ago, and I've enjoyed it very much. And we get donations of books that people leave right there in the library. There's a couple of holes in the wall in one place where they can drop the books through.
Oh, yes, yes. And your wife, Nancy, is currently president of the Friends of the Falmouth Public Library. And that summer book sale is just something that everyone looks forward to. It's one of the most, a high point of the summer on Main Street. I wonder if we have a picture of that to show how many people turn out for it.
Yes, we use one day to set up the tents and the tables and put the books on the tables, and then about 6 days or so, while people are just come in from all over. Some people actually take their vacations according to when we're having that summer sale.
The summer sale,
They can pick up. The books are very inexpensive. They can get terrific bargains. And we actually had a total revenue of $49,000 this past summer.
That is just amazing. I don't know if everyone knows that the Friends do that kind of fundraising. What happens to, what is that money used for?
Well, every year the library comes up with a wish list of things that they would like to have that aren't included in the town budget for the library. And generally speaking, we fund everything that they have on that wish list. It usually amounts to between $40,000 and $45,000.
Yeah, that's just wonderful. You had spoke about the work that the Friends do all year long downstairs in at the main branch of the library, sorting books. People donate their books, and so all year long there's money to be made on those books. Do you advertise them online?
What we do actually is most of the books are just packed away and stored for the summer book sale. But any book that's actually quite valuable, books that cost maybe $50, $100, or even more, we would put online on Amazon.
I see.
And the reason for that, of course, is because we don't want to have very expensive books under the tents in the summer book sale.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And actually, even those expensive books are a very good buy because what we charge for them is nowhere near what any other source would charge for them on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, what has been one of your most recent sales?
Oh, online? You
Online.
mean? Well, we recently sold a whole set of the Harvard Classics for $650.
Excellent, excellent. And you mail them off to the buyer.
Yeah, right. Of course, it cost $50 to mail
I
them.
know. Yeah.
But still, it was a good.
Really, that's true.
A good.
Right, right. One of my favorite writers, is James Joyce, and I understand that you got a copy of Finnegan's Wake. Was it a first edition?
I really can't say. I don't think so. But I didn't see it myself, and I just was told that they had gotten it.
But somebody wanted it, and so it was sold online.
Okay.
And lots of, apart from the summer book sale, there is the Christmas book sale that's held at the library.
Yeah, in the Friends room of the library, where the donations come in. And often people bring in half a dozen boxes of books at once.
Really?
Because they're getting rid of the house and moving to a small apartment. And they've just got too many books. They've got to get rid of them. And in the Friends room, we sort those books into categories and then pack them in boxes. And in the fall, any books that are really in very nice condition, we set aside, and we sell those in early December for the holidays. That people actually, they're books that are so nice that people can actually use them for gifts. That's what we are interested in there.
Very good. And and then there's the book nook.
And there's also a little nook beside the back door of the library where the books are all $2 or less. And we sell about $1,000 worth of books in that nook every month. It's kind of incredible, I think.
Yes, it is. It's that sort of fundraising is really just through books, just through selling books. It's hard to imagine that there's that kind of very necessary funding for the library. I understand that one of the funds go toward the databases that you can have at the library.
Yes, the Mango and Linda, and those are the two that I'm immediately aware of. They're actually paid for by the Friends of the Library.
Yes, I have looked at Mango myself, and for anybody who's interested in learning a foreign language, they are 60 foreign languages with it's a wonderful program. And so the library offers so much to people today who want to take advantage of it. And so now to go back to the summer book sale, it hasn't always been easy going. When lost to the 2014 book sale,
Yes.
you had, I don't know if it was Hurricane Arthur or Tropical Storm Arthur, but that was quite an adventure.
It was, because when it came roaring in, it actually tore apart one tent altogether. It collapsed the corner of the large tent, and we actually had to shut down the book sale that day.
Yeah.
We couldn't have it.
That was around the 4th of July.
Yeah, it was just before, it might have been the 4th,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
Right, yes, because you depend on that summer visitors.
The 4th
So,
of July
yeah.
is a big, because people come to the parade.
Right.
And then they just walk over to the tents on the lawn
Right,
afterwards.
Right.
And of course, there was no parade, and we shut down the whole operation. But I'll say one thing: the people who we rented the tents from were right there early the next morning and fixed everything back up so that we could continue.
We should mention the fact that the Friends of the Falmouth Public Library are all volunteers.
Yes,
And-
everyone volunteers.
Right, yes, and the amount of work that they do is really quite astounding. Not only for the book sale itself, but for the cataloging the books all year long.
Oh, yes. There's a group of people that come in on Monday and Thursday mornings, and all year, except in July, since the book sale is the
Right,
first week in
right.
July, and we don't do anything the rest of the month. But the other 11 months, we have people coming in regularly, and there are a couple of school teachers who come in after school often, and people just come in whenever they get a chance and go ahead and sort books and price them and so on.
Right. Hours and hours of work, of volunteer work. Falmouth is very fortunate to have really some very spirited volunteers who, many of them are retired, some are not. You have some younger people who do this while carrying on full-time work.
Well, we have had just a couple of people like that, but mostly it is retired people. And of course, we do want to get more younger people involved, so let me say that if you really love books and you're interested in helping out with the Friends of the Library, come by on a Monday or Thursday morning and come to the Friends room and offer your services.
Do the going back to technology, do the Friends have used technology, that is to say, as a way of communicating with others? I wonder if very often organizations don't utilize social media, and when you have younger people coming in, they are a good way to get organizations to begin to use social media.
Well, we haven't used any social media, although we do communicate with the board of the Friends by sending emails back and forth and that sort of thing.
I see.
And of course, the We have, this year for the first time, we have extra computers in the Friends room for people to look up the books to see which ones are more valuable in order to price them.
Good.
Although, despite this, you got to figure that almost all of the books that were sold in the summer book sale this year were only a couple of dollars, and a lot of the paperbacks are just 50 cents, and yet we hauled in $49,000.
Right. We, that summer book sale after the storm, you were stuck with an awful lot of wet books.
Well, since one tent blew off of the frame entirely, and other parts of the tents collapsed, there were a lot of wet books, and you can't sell wet books very well. So we had a big pile on the lawn of books that were either soaked or just a little bit wet, but we offered them free to anybody that wanted any of them.
Did people buy them?
No,
I mean, I'm sorry, did people pick them up?
Oh, yes. I mean, after all, you can, if you stand a book up and spread it open, it will dry and can be used. And after all, what you want to do with a book is read it. So if you read it and then have to throw it away, it's still useful.
So that was it was a good bargain for many people who picked that up. So then you're looking forward to the 2015 book sale and getting cataloging. And in the meantime, putting books online.
We're doing all of that, and of course, I'm taking, since I can no longer work in the Friends room, I am taking care of the membership and printing labels for the mailings and that sort of thing now. And of course, we put out 3 newsletters a year, and we notify people about the holiday book sale.
Right.
And once the holiday book sale is over, then we don't set aside any nice books for the next holiday book sale. We just work entirely for the summer book sale. And
now there are members of the Friends who are not necessarily involved with the book sale, but do other things too. I recall that there is a program of courses that our individuals teach.
Yes, we have a thing called Joy of Learning.
Joy of Learning, yes.
And every year, or in fact, twice a year, in the fall and the spring, we try to organize a set of courses that are given. And usually we have about 6, 5 or 6. And those are taught by volunteers.
One of the things that I think happens when people volunteer for something that they care very much about, like as you do, loving books, that the reward is very often in the companionship and the socializing that takes place. Volunteers, when I've been to book sales, the volunteers look as if they're enjoying themselves, and they certainly, and it's a sort of camaraderie that comes along with it, which is one of the rewards of doing that kind of volunteer work.
Yes, that's true both in the Friends room when they're sorting and packing books. There's definitely a camaraderie there. And then in the summer book sale, some people, they volunteer for just a 3-hour shift during the week, or maybe 2 or 3 such shifts. And that's all that they do during the year. But they like to feel that they're doing something to help out the library, and they enjoy just being around the books. And of course, they also buy things while they're there. Yes,
that's true. So let us say then, if to our viewers, if you're a lover of books and have a few hours here
Yes.
and there, by all means stop in at the Friends room on the first floor of the library and sign up to do some volunteer work. And thanks very much for being with us and for having a talk and letting us know about all the remarkable things that are happening with the Friends and telling us something about your interesting work as well. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for viewing, and we will look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations.